Once you've installed Visual Studio Code, you can go ahead and start using it immediately. So let's go ahead and double click on Visual Studio Code from your start menu or wherever, and you will be welcomed with a screen which looks something like this. Now your screen may look slightly different, or you may see slightly different options depending on the version of Visual Studio Code, but we're not going to be using this welcome screen too much anyway, so it doesn't matter. Just a point to note, I'm using Mac to record these videos, but if you're on Windows, Linux or Mac, all the options are going to be exactly the same. Visual Studio Code works almost like 99% same across the operating systems. When there are some changes, for example, in keyboard shortcuts, I'm going to cover them both for Mac and for Windows. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and create a new file and basically explore what Visual Studio Code has to offer. As you can see, there's an option over here. You can click on this to create a new file. So that's one way. If you click on that, you will see this thing over here, which is called the command palette. This is going to be very useful in just a minute. So you can click on text file using your mouse, or you can go ahead and use your keyboard up, down arrow keys to select the option. For example, we are going to select text file and hit enter on the keyboard, and this is going to create a new text file for us. That's one way of creating a new file. If you've done any programming and coding before, you would know that obviously you can go to file and click on new file over here or new text file. So that is going to do the same thing. You can also go ahead and issue the command using the keyboard shortcut using Command N on Mac or Control N on Linux or Windows. So all of them do the same thing. These things you would probably already be familiar with. It's okay if you're not, but most people are. What's really great about Visual Studio Code is that it gives you a way of interacting with it which is beyond exceptional. Like, it's really cool. And that's what you should know when you're just getting started with Visual Studio Code and get in the habit of actually using this very powerful option. For example, in order to create a new file, you have a keyboard shortcut, but there are many features in Visual Studio Code, and sometimes you want to be able to execute a complex command which you don't remember the keyboard shortcut for. For that, there is one keyboard shortcut to rule them all, and that is going to be the go-to shortcut that we are going to use. And that is on Mac, Command-Shift-P, or on Windows, Control-Shift-P. So go ahead and issue this. So I'm on the Mac, I'm going to do Command-Shift-P, and it's going to show me this really helpful thing. This is called the command palette. So this has all the commands that are available. Okay. For example, if you want to create a new file, you can just say new file, and you will see all the matches which are related to this. So now you can go ahead and use the up down arrow keys to select whichever option you want. For example, I want to create a new untitled text file. So I'm going to select that and hit enter. That's going to create a new file for me. But what's really great is that you can hit Command-Shift-P or Control-Shift-P and just say NF. And that is going to show you all the options which kind of like fuzzy matches with new file or NF, right? So configure matches, new file matches, this configure matches, no folder matches with this. So all of these things which match with an NF. So this is a fuzzy match, okay? So for example, if we wanted to create a new file, we can say Command-Shift-P or Control-Shift-P and create new file, CNF, and that matches this, okay? So hit enter, and it's going to ask you what type of the file, text file, you go ahead and do that, okay? So again, you can create a new file using tens of different ways, but what's important here is that you understand that Command-Shift-P can allow you to do many things. For example, if you want to create a new terminal, we're going to cover this later on, but new terminal, and you have the option to do that as well, even if you don't remember the keyboard shortcut for that. So this is really powerful, and you should get in the habit of using the command palette because this is going to save you hours of time when you're doing large scale development. All right, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and create a new file. And one bonus point is that it remembers the last thing that you did. So if you just hit Command-Shift-P, create new file is just there. So the things that you do really commonly, really frequently, they're going to be there just for you to do them, okay? So we create a new text file. So now, in order to demonstrate some of the other functionalities, some basic functionalities which are going to be really useful for you, let's go ahead and bring some text into this file. So I'm going to head over to GitHub and just grab any code that you want. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my GitHub repo and I'm going to like download this basic file. Okay, so nothing fancy, just some Python code. I'm going to go ahead and copy all of this. So all the way up till the end, go back to Visual Studio Code and simply go ahead and paste this. So notice a couple of things over here. Right now, the file is called untitled-1 because I just created the file. I have not saved it. I have not given it a name. You are seeing some text over here, but that is not part of the file. It's just Visual Studio being helpful. Select a language or fill with a template or open a default editor. We're going to get to most of these things later on in the course. But for now, as soon as you paste the code, you will see that it will almost like after a second or so, it's going to pretty print the whole thing. So let's go ahead and close this and look at this again. So create a new file. Look at the bottom right over here where it says plain text. So currently this file is a plain text file. As soon as you paste the Python code, this thing changes to Python. So Visual Studio Code has recognized that this is a Python code or Python material that you have pasted over here. If you type it, it has the same effect. You don't have to paste it, even the typing works the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this file. You can, as always, go to File and Save, or hit the Command S or Control S shortcut. And it's going to ask you where you want to save it. So let's go ahead and save it in our work folder over here. So let's call this test.py. You can give it a name. So let's go ahead and save this. All right. So at the bottom, you will see over here that it's helpfully telling you that you want to install the recommended Python extensions. Again, we're going to get to this later on in the course when we do extensions and when we do Python. For now, let's go ahead and close this tooltip because we don't want to do that right now because we're just getting used to the basics. Okay. One more thing which is really useful over here, that is this guy over here, which as you can see, it kind of looks like a really zoomed out version of all of my code. So if you scroll over here, you will see that this thing also scrolls. This thing is called the minimap. If you have never used the minimap before, it becomes really useful and you like get addicted to it when you start using it. So for example, I've worked with my code and I know that I have some nested ifs over here. So they look like they will be over here. So instead of like scrolling through and trying to hunt the piece of code, I can simply click on this and it'll take me to this thing over here. So the indentation and the color coding, that is kind of mashed over here in this minimap. Really useful. It also serves as a simple scroll bar, which is very user friendly if you want to use it like that. So simply click and drag and that is going to work like that. Okay. So now you have created a new file, you have looked at the minimap and you have basically saved a file and looked at a very, very important functionality of Visual Studio Code, which is the command palette. Again, it's either Command Shift V or Control Shift V. You can do all sorts of stuff with this. So save the file using that. Everything that you might want to do with Visual Studio Code is available in the command palette. So with this video, I want to leave you with this one very important concept so that you can use it whenever you are looking for a command and you just don't remember what kind of thing it was. You can simply open the command palette and search for what you want to do. Okay. In the next video, we are going to look at some of the other pieces of this puzzle and see what Visual Studio provides you out of the box without you having to do anything.